looks like is that we're going to have pretty much a carbon copy of that government which stepped down in August. Now, I'm actually with a guest, an MP from the New Democracy Party, the party which obviously lost this election, Nikki Keremeus. And can I ask you first of all, I mean, you've lost by a much bigger margin than anybody had expected. I mean, you obviously must be very disappointed with this result.
Look, we are clearly very disappointed, and we have to be honest, this was a clear victory for Syriza, way beyond what we were anticipating. I think it's clear that we didn't get the message across. I think the message of the need for a stable, responsible government. I think that the reasons for which we didn't manage to do that are mainly the fact that only 7 months lapsed between the election of Syriza back in January. So people didn't have the time to realize also the consequences of the really difficult and harsh measures that Syriza adopted. As you may know, a number of tax slips are expected to be received by the Greek people in the next couple of weeks. Had the election taken place in November, I think we would have seen a very different result.
But what is your role going to be now? I mean, how are you going to play this? Are you actually going to be constructive in opposition, or are you going to be destructive? Because obviously it's a very, very key time for the country, and basically the new government has to implement a whole series of reforms, austerity measures very, very quickly.
For everybody. Look, New Democracy has proven that it's a responsible party. In the past few months, it was clear that New Democracy placed the national interest way beyond, way above the strict political interest. And that's why we supported tough measures with which we were more or less against, but we did it because we wanted to keep Greece safeguarded within Europe and within the Eurozone. So we've proven that we can do that in the past, and that's what we continue to do. As long as the measures set forth by the government are in favor of the Greek people and the country as a whole, New Democracy will do its duty and will continue to support the country.
So you won't try and pull the rug out from this government?
We didn't do it before, we won't do it now. That's not in the interest of the country. In the interest of the country is to have a stable, responsible government, a government that will last. And I think one of the messages that came across during this election today was the very high abstention. Many Greeks decided not to go and vote, and I think that's a very strong message that was sent to Syriza and Mr. Tsipras personally, that you know, a leader cannot constantly throw the ball back to the people whenever he's faced with some small difficulty. You know, there has to be, you know, the people, you know, elect governments in order to take tough decisions. So.
But, I mean, one key question, in your opinion, do you think this government's going to last?
I would hope so, for Greece's sake. I'm reluctant to say so, because the problem is we're talking about a very slim majority right now. We're talking about 155 seats out of 300 in parliament. And on top of that, within Syriza, there's still some rebellion voices. There's still MPs who are against this program that Syriza has signed with our creditors. So we're very much concerned that we may see a repeat scenario like the one that happened just a couple of months ago.
What, so when MPs break away and it then forces another election?
Right, and that's definitely not what the country needs. The country has gone through a very tough phase this past 9 months. What today's result proves is that this election was completely unneeded, because we're back to exactly the same, more or less the same forces of the two main parties, of Syriza and New Democracy. We're back, it looks like, to the same coalition partners, same MPs, so nothing has changed. What has changed is that this election had a tremendous hit, yet again, on Greece's economy.
Okay, Nikki Keremeus, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.